And there he is with his MVP trophy after his amazing Super Bowl performance. RC, you had an interesting thought about Hurts that you shared on social media. Let me read what you wrote. Josh, Joe, and Lamar have had their shots at the throne. Joe beat Patrick. Josh had his days, but none of them have stood up across from 15 like Jalen Hurts. Maybe he's never mentioned in the same breath as the others, but for now, there's a combo only he and Patrick are in Super Bowl MVP. When the football historians sit back and watch their matchups, it's going to be hard for them to tell who this era's guy was. Hurts has just been better. Congrats to the Eagles. Okay, a lot to unpack on this. Stephen A., I'll start with you. What did Hurts prove with his MVP performance?
He's a big gamer.
Yep.
It's exactly what RC said. I dispute not a syllable of what RC uttered. He's in a conversation that Joe Burrow is not in, that Lamar Jackson is not in, that Josh Allen is not in, and that is Super Bowl MVP. And by the way, Jalen Hurts has played better against Patrick Mahomes than any of them have. Even with the sensational performances that Josh Allen has put forth, it still resulted in an L because he couldn't do what Patrick Mahomes ultimately was able to do against his squad. That is not the case with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts didn't get the ball back in Super Bowl 57. They had a lead with, a tie score rather, with about 5 minutes and 15 seconds left, and they never got the ball back. He gets a second go round, and they obliterate the Kansas City Chiefs. And Jalen Hurts didn't just do it with his arm, with that touchdown pass to Devontae Smith, which was big time. He also did it repeatedly with his legs. When the Chiefs defense had them bottled up, he found a way to extend plays and make things happen. He ran for 70 yards in the Super Bowl 57, ran for 72 yards last night. Jalen Hurts was absolutely sensational. He deserves all the credit in the world. And to me, he's just proven that, you know what, he's got ice blood in his veins. He ain't fazed by the big moment. He showed up when he was called upon to do so and showed what he's capable of, and everybody has to stand down and accept that.
The only thing that's confusing to me is what RC said. When he said with historians, they're going to say who was the tougher of the quarterbacks.
Or he said whose era this was.
It's Patrick RC, now come on now. Come on now.
No, so let me explain that. Let me explain that. I said when historians watch the tape of their matchups, take away, I'm talking about when they watch the matchup, just that game, not what they've done throughout their careers, you're going to not know that Patrick Mahomes was who he was going into those games as compared to Jalen Hurts. That's what I said.
Yeah, look, he's won everywhere he's been. He won at Alabama. And then Tua came in and replaced him, won the championship game, and he goes on to he transfers to Oklahoma. He wins there. He gets into the college football playoff, and he comes in as a second-round draft pick, and he ends up taking the job over from Carson Wentz, and he hasn't looked back. All he does is win. Look, it's not going to be – because I think the thing is now in the era in which we play in, guys, everybody's looking for the quarterback to throw to somehow end up with 4,000-plus yards and somewhere between 30 and 40 touchdowns. I'm not so sure, given the offense and how the offense is built, that's going to be Jalen Hurts. But at the end of the day, do you really care if you're not throwing for 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns, if it doesn't equate to wins on Sunday, and if it doesn't equate to you being in the Super Bowl? It doesn't matter to me. At the end of the day, all I care about is winning. And he's done a lot of that since he's been a starter. And I think it's about time now. So for me, I'm going to look at I'm going to change the way I look at Jalen Hurts. He's not going to throw for the yards that Joe Burrow got. He's not going to throw for 4,500 and 5,000 yards. That's not who he is. That's not who this offense is. But I tell you what, now, and I hate this for him because every time he starts to have success and they go to Super Bowl, he loses his offensive coordinator. So he's going to have another voice in his ear moving forward, Stephen. And you and I were talking about this just a while ago. I'm like, damn, as soon as Jalen Hurts starts to get into a rhythm, likes it, loves his offensive coordinator, Molly, he's gone and got another head coaching job.
That's a good point.
But Jalen Hurts has been sensational, and it's time for us to okay, Joe Burrow is that. And when we hype up, the thing is, when we talk about Jalen Hurts, that doesn't mean we're trying to crap on Joe or Lamar or Josh. We're just saying he's able to complete a task that thus far those three haven't been able to do.
Yeah, what we're going to say about Jalen Hurts or what he proved last night is he's unbreakable. He's unbreakable. And he proved that this and this for an athlete will always matter more than anything else. And you have to give Jalen Hurts credit. This is a young man that was benched in the national championship game. Benched by the greatest college football coach of all time. Didn't break him. Didn't break him. Had to go back in a year later. Transfers. And listen, I owe publicly Jalen Hurts an apology. I was probably one this year who's been the hardest on him. I'll go back a couple weeks ago when I said the passing game's not good enough right now, and I don't think it's going to get better. All he's done since then is have his 2 best games of the year on the 2 biggest stages that the game has been on. The NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. He was sensational last night, and he was sensational in the NFC Championship game. He made 1 bad play last night in a Super Bowl against the 4th-ranked defense in the NFL that was giving up, on average, 18 points a game. 1 mistake, 1 bad play. And all Jalen Hurts has done is constantly believed in himself no matter what anyone has said. And again, I've been one of those people, and constantly just gone to work and not allow the outside noise. We all can learn from that. Not allow the outside noise to affect him. He's a big game hunter. Stephen A., you kind of hinted at it. I don't think he'll ever pass a Joe Burrow or a Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen talent-wise, and I still feel that way. I also said, but if he wins it and is a huge reason why, and he was, we will ask the question of, why can't you get it done, Joe? Why can't you get it done, Josh? And why can't you get it done, Lamar, just like Jalen has? And that's the question that we'll ask moving forward. Jalen did it. Those other guys now have to as well.
RC?
Well, bottom line is this. Jalen Hurts is off to the start of a future Hall of Fame career. I'll say it. Y'all ain't got to say it, but I will. We were arguing about whether or not Eli Manning was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. We all agree that Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer, but some of us didn't think that he should be first ballot, but he's going to get in. Because there's 2 ways that quarterbacks get into the Hall of Fame, right? They're either so individually talented, have these astounding stats that their individual play and the fact that they allowed their teams to continue to be competitive gets them in. Or they're these very good players, these incredible leaders with the clutch genes that have these intangibles that show up in the biggest moment. Let me tell you a little something. Jalen Hurts is 46-20 as a quarterback in the regular season, 37-10 since 2022. He's 6-3 in the playoffs. He has 2 Pro Bowls, a 2nd-team All-Pro, and he was 2nd in MVP voting, and he's also now a Super Bowl MVP. So in his 5 years in the NFL, he's gone to 2 Super Bowls, which means he has two AFC championships, and he's won a Super Bowl. He's also outplayed the best quarterback of this era 2 times on the biggest stage. That's the start to a Hall of Fame career. It's not about what the numbers look like. If we can sit here and say that this person or this person allowed their team to win, this person or that person has 2 championships, this person beat Tom Brady twice on the biggest stage, and that's why he belongs in the Hall of Fame, why aren't we saying that about Jalen Hurts? If we change Jalen Hurts' name to Eli Manning, are we right now looking at him and saying, this is a guy who's on a Hall of Fame trajectory? We absolutely are. The problem is people still remember that Jalen Hurts was pulled for Tua Tagovailoa. People still remember that their perception of him was that he needed to be a better passer. And 2 weeks ago, before we got to the NFC Championship, I said, yep, Jalen Hurts good enough to pass on this stage and win a championship. And then a week later, I said, it seems that history matters for every other quarterback. We still talk about what Josh did in a 2021-2022 divisional playoff game against Patrick Mahomes as the reason we love him so much and believe in him in the playoffs. Why don't we feel that way, or why didn't we feel that way about Jalen Hurts before this game? This man is on a future Hall of Fame trajectory right now, today, and we have to say that.
Go ahead.
It's real.
I can answer that. Hold on. There's nothing to dispute about that argument but one thing and one thing only. Everybody that was questioning him up to a few weeks ago was justified in doing so. Just like today, the answers have been provided. The questions were created by him as well. The questions were not just created by him, it was created by the Eagles as well. Now, obviously, Saquon Barkley is a sensational bowler. But after week 5, the Eagles led the entire league in rushing attempts. And they were dead last in passing attempts. Would that happen with Josh Allen? Would that happen with Lamar Jackson? Would that happen with Patrick Mahomes? Would that happen with Joe Burrow? The answer is no. So my point is, you still find yourself justified at the time in asking the questions. Now, when I predicted that he was going to win the Super Bowl, what did I say? They're going to sit up there, they're going to load the box against Saquon or whatever. They're going to sit up there and say, Jalen Hurts, go out there and beat you. I said, I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to do it. But I didn't know. I believed, but I didn't know. Why didn't I know? Because he hadn't been in that position. We saw him perform exceptionally well, outplay Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowl 57. He loses both coordinators, okay? The team loses both coordinators, and then the Eagles plummeted. Last year, they lost the last 6 games of the year, like 6 of the last 7 games of the year.
Yeah.
And so we came into this year. I'm just saying, he answered the question, and he deserves all the credit in the world. But those questions were justified. It's just that he answered the call.
Real quick, Shay, before you jump in, Stephen
I think
when
the
we look at
questions
your
were
sport,
justified. A lot of the hate wasn't.
Well, I don't know what where was the hate coming from?
Real quick, Stephen A., but when we look at the NBA, you know the guys that just show up when the lights are the brightest, the clutch guys, you can count on them to make the shots. Is it fair to say that he's the second most clutch quarterback now in the NFL?
To who?
Jalen Hurts, to Patrick Mahomes.
I don't even know if you can say he's second to Patrick Mahomes in terms of clutch, because when he's going against Patrick Mahomes on the Super Bowl stage,
I know it's a tough day to ask that,
he's
but
bold.
we've seen Patrick Mahomes in the past. But when we look at all these other guys, the Lamars and the Burrows, I mean, and Josh, isn't it fair to say that he's more of a winner? He's more of a clutch player?
Well, listen, you could say that. I would tell you that he's right as far as I'm concerned. I'm not even willing to I'm not talking about overall total resume. I'm just talking about in terms of clutch. When you talk about Super Bowl appearances, he's outplayed Patrick Mahomes. What I will say, however, is this. If I'm Josh Allen, if I'm Lamar Jackson, okay, if I'm Joe Burrow, what I could say as a retort to the RCs of the world or to a question like yours or anything like that is, I mean, we ain't had no defensive line that played like that. My defensive line didn't play like that and cause that kind of havoc for Patrick Mahomes.
Sure.
They could say that too.
That's the draft. Give high rules.
Yeah, but like
a lot of those guys are drafted players.
I heard Dan.
He went into the draft.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, RC.
Yeah. No, well, when I heard Dan say that Jalen won't be counted with those names, I agree with that to an extent in style of play, in production of play, all of those things. But I'm just talking about just Jalen Hurts singularly right now and what his career says to me at this point.
Hey, congratulations, son. And that's what happened. They bottled up Saquon. 25 carries, 57 yards? 25 carries, 57 yards. Jalen Hurts threw the ball. Now, he didn't have to throw the ball a bunch. 22 attempts, 17, 221, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. He did what was asked of him. When they took Saquon away, because a lot of times when they take away your best weapon, that's what Coach Belichick would always do. I'm gonna make you beat me with your B plan. You're not gonna beat me with A. So whatever you do really well, I'm gonna take that away. What the Eagles do better than damn near anybody in the NFL other than the Ravens is run the football. And Steve Spagnuolo took that away. They won because Jalen Hurts was accurate, he was on time, and he did what he needed to do. And when he couldn't find anybody open, he took off with his legs. Give him his credit for today. We can just say, well, where he should be and where he shouldn't be. But today. He sits atop the throne. Kick your feet up, Jalen Hurts. Well-deserved victory.
Dan?
Yeah, I would agree a lot with that, Shannon. I don't want to sit with the whole, like, give him his credit today. Listen, there's been 2 quarterbacks that have engineered offenses that have scored 35-plus multiple times in the Super Bowl. One of them is Joe Montana, and the other is Jalen Hurts. So we got to, if we're going to be really critical and really loud and noisy of our criticism, and Stephen A., I agree that he answered the questions, we also have to be equally as loud with praising him.
Absolutely.
If you were Kansas City, Shannon, to your point, and you said, hey, you're going to get them in the 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. Philly's offense a bunch in this game. And Saquon's not going to do anything. Yeah. We would have thought the score would be flipped. Absolutely. We would have thought the score would have been 34-0 Kansas City, because that's exactly what they wanted them to do. And he was sensational, and you have to give him credit for that. Now, I'm not saying he's more clutch than Patrick Mahomes, though, Stephen A., and I think you were hinting at that.
No.
Patrick is still the most clutch quarterback in football.
No, what I'm saying is that head-to-head on a Super Bowl stage, Jalen Hurts has matched him, so this ain't the day to be sitting up there and saying he's certainly not more clutch than Patrick Mahomes. I'm saying to you, he's answered the bell. He sits here today as a Super Bowl MVP, having completely destroyed the Kansas City Chiefs.
But I was saying, is he more clutch than the other three that we were saying he wasn't in the conversation?
Yeah,
but Shannon, I want to push back on one thing that you said because I want to make sure I'm clear. Because you said give him all the flowers today, right? All the flowers today. He's ahead of anyone. He's the king of the throne. But you said today, and that's where I feel like there's the caveat. Overall, though, what did Jalen prove to you last night? How did his narrative change?
He can get it done on the biggest stage because like I said, statistically, when we look at his numbers, Molly, we're never going to be in awe of his passing numbers.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's not going to be like a guy like Lamar Stephen A. this year threw for 4,000 yards, 41 touchdowns, or Joe Burrow who threw for almost 5,000 yards. I don't think we're going to look at Lamar and say, damn, he just threw for 450. That's not who he is. He's going to win, but he's going to win the way the Eagles are built on winning, which is run the football. Jalen, we're going to try to throw the football when we want to throw it. Yeah. They don't force us to throw it when we don't want to throw it, and that's what they did. He did it. When they had him bottled up, when everybody was covered, he took off with his leg. He got 13. He got 14. Because at the end of the day, RC, you know this, as playing defense, the most frustrating thing is to get a team in third down and you can't get off the field. Oh, man. I see you just drop your head, Stephen A. They had him in 3rd and 8. They had him in 3rd and 13. They had him in 3rd and 7. And it's first down. It's first down. It's first down. It's just like anything. I don't care. You make somebody take a tough shot in basketball, Stephen A., and then you don't get the rebound.
That's right.
What have you done? So what if you get them in 3rd down? If you can't get off the field on 3rd down, what actually have you done? Because eventually that's going to catch up with you and bite you in the butt. And that's what happened. The Kansas City Chiefs picked the worst time to play their worst football game as a team. Patrick Mahomes were bad. The defense was bad. Everything. There was nothing really good about what happened last night.
See, don't forget this either. Based on what Shannon just said, we talk about Patrick Mahomes, GOAT conversation, all of that stuff. This affects Andy Reid. It affects Steve Spagnuolo.
Yeah.
It affects both of them.
Yeah.
Because what was the game plan? Where were the adjustments? What I mean.
No, for sure. RC?
But I think though, but doesn't that all come into play when we speak of how great Jalen Hurts was last night or how great Jalen Hurts has been in 2 Super Bowl appearances? Rex Ryan said that if we start putting assistant coaches into the Hall of Fame, then Steve Spagnuolo is in the Hall of Fame. We already know that Andy Reid is a Hall of Fame head coach, one of the greatest to ever do it. We were starting to put him in the conversation with the one Bill Belichick. And so not only is Patrick Mahomes standing across the field from Jalen Hurts, but so is Andy Reid, so is Steve Spagnuolo, and they had no answers for him. They had no way to stop him. They had no way to, even with everything being on his right arm, everything being on his legs, they couldn't figure out a way to contain him. And to me, I get it. He's never going to have the gaudy passing stats, but he seems to always have an answer. Think about coming out of the bye this year. This team is 2-2. Jalen Hurts has 2 of his best passing games back-to-back against Cleveland and Cincinnati. And then we get the infamous passing from A.J. Brown. He has one of his best performances against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And now, AFC Championship, Super Bowl, he's as good as he's ever been. That's what football is about, being exactly what you need your team to be in the most important moments, and Jalen Hurts seems to have a niche for doing that.